After
day I
leaving
discovered
David,
the truth,
my
started
life
like
felt
any
empty.
other.
For
It was a
18
quiet
years,
Saturday
I woke
morning.
up next to him,
I was cleaning the
shared
house
meals
while
with him,
David said,
laughed,
he had to
and
go out
cried
for a
with him.
meeting.
Suddenly,
I nodded and smiled.
all of that was gone.
But deep inside,
the first days
I
were
felt
the hardest.
Something
I woke up in
inside me
Sarah's
said,
house and looked
"Follow him."
around,
I
confused.
tried to ignore the thought,
I expected
but it
to hear
stayed
his
strong.
voice.
After so many years, I knew his habits,
but there was
his
nothing.
voice, his smile.
Only silence.
I also knew when something was
Sometimes
wrong.
I
So,
cried until
for the
my
first
eyes
time
were
in
red.
18 years, I
Sometimes
decided to
I
follow
stared
him.
at the wall.
I took my
feeling
coat,
lost.
left the house,
I asked
and
myself
walked
again
behind
and
him at a
again.
distance.
How could
he didn't
do
see
this?
me.
My
My
heart
heart
was
was
beating
beating
fast.
18
My
years
hands
of love.
cold. But
I
slowly,
felt like I was
I
doing
realized
something
wrong.
but
the
my
years
heart
were
needed
not
answers.
Yes,
David walked
he betrayed
quickly,
me.
then
Yes,
stopped
he
near a
lied.
cafe.
But my
He looked
love
around
was real
and entered.
My loyalty
I waited
was real.
outside,
My
standing
kindness
behind a
was
tree.
real.
After
And
a
that
few
was
minutes,
my strength.
a woman arrived.
I told myself
She was young,
Anna,
maybe 10
you
years
cannot
younger than
change
me.
the past.
She smiled
But
when
you
she
can
saw
choose
him.
your future.
And then my
So
world
I started
stopped.
to build a new
David
life.
stood up,
First,
hugged her.
I returned to
and
my
kissed
work
her
as
on
a
the
teacher
lips.
with
I
new
felt like
energy.
the ground broke
My
under my
students
feet.
made me smile.
My chest hurt.
They asked me questions.
My eyes
filled
filled
with
with stories
tears.
and reminded
I
me that
couldn't
life
move.
is still
For
beautiful.
18 years,
One little
I
girl
believed
gave me
I
a
was his
flower one
only
morning
love.
and said,
For 18
"Teacher,
years, I
you are
trusted
the
his
best."
words. My
And
eyes
now,
filled
in 1
with
second,
tears. Everything
but
collapsed.
this time they were not
I wanted to
only
scream.
tears of pain.
I wanted to run inside.
They were tears of
and
hope.
ask him why.
Second, but I took
couldn't
care of
move.
myself. I just
For
stood
many
there,
years,
frozen,
I only lived for
watching
David.
the man I loved
I thought
with another
about
woman.
what he wanted.
They sat
what
together,
he needed.
talking,
I
laughing,
forgot about myself.
touching hands.
Now
I
started
stayed
to remember
until I couldn't
watch anymore.
I went for long
Then
walks.
I walked away.
I read books again.
Tears falling
I
down
cooked
my
food I
face.
loved.
That
I
night,
even joined a
when he
painting
returned
class.
home,
Something
he
I had
smiled
always
like
wanted to
nothing
try.
had happened.
It felt
He
strange
kissed my
at
cheek
first,
and asked,
but slowly,
"How was your day?"
I started to enjoy
I
my
looked
own
at him,
company,
and my heart
David
broke
kept
again.
calling.
How
He
could
sent
he
long
smile at me
messages.
after kissing another
He
woman?
said he was sorry.
How could he lie
He
so
said he
easily?
missed me. I wanted
He
to
begged
shout
me
at
to
him,
return,
but every
stayed
time I
silent.
thought about going back,
I was too shocked.
I remembered
too
the
hurt.
pain in my chest
The next
when
few
I saw
days,
him with her.
I pretended
I remembered his
everything was
words.
normal.
I
But
loved both of
inside,
you.
I was dying.
No.
I remembered
was not
every
love.
word he had said to me.
That was selfishness.
Every promise he had
So
made.
one day,
every
I
moment
sent
we
him
had
a
shared.
final message.
Now all of it
I wrote
felt like a lie.
David,
Finally,
I
one
loved
night
you for
I couldn't keep it
18
inside
years.
anymore.
I gave
I
you
looked at
everything.
him and asked,
But
David,
you broke my
who is she?
trust.
His
You
smile
broke my heart.
disappeared.
I
His
cannot
face
return
turned
to you.
pale.
I
He
must
knew
choose
exactly
myself
who I was
now.
talking about.
Goodbye.
For a long moment,
When I
he
pressed
said
send,
nothing.
I cried again.
Then he sighed,
But
and
this
whispered,
time,
Anna,
the tears were different.
I didn't want you to find
They
out
were
like
not
this.
weak tears.
His words
They were
cut me like a
strong
knife.
tears.
He
Tears
continued.
of ending.
Her name is
Tears
Emily.
of freedom.
We have been seeing
Life
each other
after
for 2
David
years.
was not easy.
I didn't tell you.
Sometimes
because
I felt lonely.
I didn't want to hurt you.
Sometimes I missed
I
the past.
stared at him in
but step by
disbelief.
step, I
2
learned to
years?
stand alone.
2 years.
I
he had
spent
lived
more
with me,
time with
loved
Sarah.
me. We
Kissed
laughed.
me,
We
and
cooked.
at the same
we watched
time loved
movies.
another woman.
She told
I
me
shouted
again
and again.
2 years.
Anna,
18
you are
years. I
stronger
gave
than you
you
think,
David.
And slowly,
my youth,
I
my
began
love,
to believe her.
My
One
everything.
evening,
And
I
you
walked
gave your
alone
love
on
to
the
another.
same beach where
Tears
David once
ran down
promised
my
me
face.
forever.
My
The skies
hands
were
orange
shaking.
and pink.
He tried to
just
touch
like that
me,
night years ago.
but I moved away.
But this time, I
Anna,
was not
please,
leaning
he
on his
said.
shoulder.
I still
was
love
standing
alone.
I love both
The
of
waves
you.
touched my
You have
feet.
always been my
The
safe
wind
place.
touched my hair.
But Emily,
I
she
closed
makes
my
me
eyes
feel
and
young
whispered,
again.
His
I will be
words
okay.
broke me even more.
For the first time
He
in a long
loved both
time,
of
I
us.
felt peace.
No.
I realized
not
that love
love.
is not just
That
about
was
giving
betrayal.
everything to someone
I
else.
cried and shouted.
Real love
You
begins
stole
with
my
loving
life.
yourself.
You
You
promised
promised
me
I
forever.
lost 18
and
years
all the time
to a
you were
man who
lying.
betrayed me.
That night,
But I
I
didn't
also
sleep.
gained something
I
important.
sat in the living room,
wisdom,
shaking,
I
crying.
learned that trust
remembering
is
the
precious.
18 years
and
of
once
my
it is
life.
broken,
I thought
it
of the young
cannot
girl in the
always be
bookstore who
repaired.
gave her heart
I learned that
so
I deserve
easily.
someone who
I
truly
thought of
respects
all the
me,
nights I
who
waited
will not
for him,
hide secrets,
trusted
who will
him,
not make me
believed
wait
him.
forever.
It all
I
felt
learned that
wasted.
I am enough.
The next morning,
Even when I
packed
am
some
alone,
clothes and left the
months
house.
passed. I
My
couldn't stay
heart
there
healed
anymore.
little by little.
Every corner
The
of that
pain
home
became
carried
smaller.
his lies.
The hope
I went to
became
my
bigger.
friend Sarah's house.
One morning,
when she
as I
opened
looked
the
at
door
myself in the
and
mirror,
saw me
I
crying,
saw a woman
she
who had
hugged me
survived
tightly.
betrayal.
I
told her
lies,
everything.
and heartbreak.
She listened quietly.
I saw a
and
woman
when
who
I
was
finished,
still
she
standing,
whispered,
and
Anna,
I smiled.
You are
because
strong.
I knew my
You don't
story
need
was
him.
not over.
You gave him
It
your
was
love
only
for
beginning.
18 years.
I loved him
But
for 18
now you must
years.
give love to
That
yourself.
love was real.
Her words gave
but
me a
then
little
I
strength,
found the truth.
but my
The
heart
truth
was still
broke
broken.
me.
But
I
it also
felt
set
empty.
me free.
I felt
Now,
like my
I
whole
walked
life
into the
was a
future
lie.
with open eyes.
For days,
Open
David
heart
sent me
and
messages.
open hands.
He called
Not waiting
again
for promises.
and again.
not waiting for
Sometimes he
someone
begged,
to complete me.
sometimes he shouted,
I am
sometimes
enough.
he cried.
And maybe
He said he was
someday
sorry.
real love will
He said
find me
he didn't
again.
want to lose me.
A love that
But
does not
every time
hide.
I remembered
A
him
love
kissing
that
her,
does not betray.
my heart closed
A
more.
love that is honest.
How could I
and
forgive
kind.
18
But
years
even
of
if it does
lies?
not, I know
How could
I
I
will be
trust
okay.
him again?
Because the
No.
strongest love
It
I
was
have
finished.
found is the
I had
love
found the truth.
I finally
The
give
truth was
myself.
ugly, painful, and heavy. But it was the truth. And sometimes, the truth is what finally sets us free. The day I discovered the truth started like any other. It was a quiet Saturday morning. I was cleaning the house while David said he had to go out for a meeting. I nodded and smiled, but deep inside, I felt heavy. Something inside me said, follow him. I tried to ignore the thought, but it stayed strong. After so many years, I knew his habits, his voice, his smile. I also knew when something was wrong. So, for the first time in 18 years, I decided to follow him. I took my coat, left the house, and walked behind him at a distance. He didn't see me. My heart was beating fast, my hands cold. I felt like I was doing something wrong, but my heart needed answers. David walked quickly, then stopped near a cafe. He looked around and entered. I waited outside, standing behind a tree. After a few minutes, a woman arrived. She was young, maybe 10 years younger than me. She smiled when she saw him. And then my world stopped. David stood up, hugged her, and kissed her on the lips. I felt like the ground broke under my feet. My chest hurt. My eyes filled with tears. I couldn't move. For 18 years, I believed I was his only love. For 18 years, I trusted his words. And now, in 1 second, everything collapsed. I wanted to scream.
I wanted to run inside and ask him why.
But I couldn't move. I just stood there, frozen, watching the man I loved with another woman. They sat together, talking, laughing, touching hands. I stayed until I couldn't watch anymore. Then I walked away, tears falling down my face. That night, when he returned home, he smiled like nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek and asked, "How was your day?" I looked at him, and my heart broke again. How could he smile at me after kissing another woman? How could he lie so easily? I wanted to shout at him, but I stayed silent. I was too shocked, too hurt. The next few days, I pretended everything was normal. But inside, I was dying. I remembered every word he had said to me, every promise he had made, every moment we had shared. Now all of it felt like a lie. Finally, one night, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I looked at him and asked, "David, who is she?" His smile disappeared. His face turned pale. He knew exactly who I was talking about. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he sighed and whispered, "Anna, I didn't want you to find out like this." His words cut me like a knife. He continued, "Her name is Emily. We have been seeing each other for 2 years. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt you." I stared at him in disbelief.
2 years?
2 years he had lived with me, loved me, kissed me, and at the same time loved another woman. I shouted, 2 years? 18 years I gave you, David. My youth, my love, my everything. And you gave your love to another? Tears ran down my face. My hands were shaking. He tried to touch me, but I moved away. "Anna, please," he said. "I still love you. I love both of you. You have always been my safe place. But Emily, she makes me feel young again." His words broke me even more. He loved both of us?
No.
That was not love. That was betrayal. I cried and shouted, "You stole my life. You promised me forever, and all the time you were lying." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, shaking, crying, remembering the 18 years of my life. I thought of the young girl in the bookstore who gave her heart so easily. I thought of all the nights I waited for him, trusted him, believed him. It all felt wasted. The next morning, I packed some clothes and left the house. I couldn't stay there anymore. Every corner of that home carried his lies. I went to my friend Sarah's house. When she opened the door and saw me crying, she hugged me tightly. I told her everything. She listened quietly, and when I finished, she whispered, "Anna, you are strong. You don't need him." You gave him your love for 18 years, but now you must give love to yourself. Her words gave me a little strength, but my heart was still broken. I felt empty. I felt like my whole life was a lie. For days, David sent me messages. He called again and again. Sometimes he begged, sometimes he shouted, sometimes he cried. He said he was sorry. He said he didn't want to lose me. But every time I remembered him kissing her, my heart closed more. How could I forgive 18 years of lies? How could I trust him again?
No.
It was finished. I had found the truth. The truth was ugly, painful, and heavy. But it was the truth. And sometimes, the truth is what finally sets us free. My
Life
name
with
is David
Anna.
was not always
I was
perfect.
only 18.
No love
when I
story
first met David.
is perfect.
At that time,
In the beginning,
I was
I
young,
never saw any
shy,
problems
and full of
but
dreams.
after many years,
Life
I
looked
began
so
to notice
big,
little things,
and
I wanted to find
first,
someone
they
who
were
would
so
understand
small.
me. I met
told
David
myself
at a small
they were
bookstore
not
in my
important.
town. But later,
I loved reading,
those little things
and I often
became
went there
big.
after school.
One day,
He was already
David
22,
came home late,
older than me,
I asked,
and he worked in
"Where
the city.
were you?" That day,
He smiled
I was
and
looking
said,
for a novel.
"Just busy
I
with
saw
work."
him standing near
I
the
believed
same
him.
shelf.
Why would
he
I
picked
not?
up the book I also
had
wanted.
trusted him for so
Our
many
hands
years.
touched, but
We
then
both
it happened
laughed.
again. That was the
And
first
again.
moment.
A
Some
simple
nights
touch,
he
a
returned
small
home
smile,
very late,
but it stayed
Some
in my
weekends
heart.
he said
David
he had to
had
travel
kind
for
eyes.
business.
His
I wanted to
smile was
believe him,
warm,
so
and
I
his
pushed
voice
my
was
doubts
soft.
away. He asked
But
me,
inside my heart,
"Do you like reading
I
stories
felt
too?"
uneasy.
I
When
nodded
asked
and we
him
started
questions,
talking.
he became a
We
little
spoke about
angry,
books,
about
he
life,
said,
and about
"Anna,
dreams.
Don't you trust me?"
He told me,
after
he
all
wanted
these
to start
years,
his own business
"You
one
should
day.
know I love you."
I told him I wanted
His
to be a
words
teacher.
made me feel guilty.
We met again and then again.
I thought maybe I
At
was wrong
first,
for
it was
doubting
just
him.
friendly talks.
So I stayed
But
quiet.
slowly,
Another
something
time,
more grew
I
between
noticed
us.
he was often on
I
his
felt
phone.
happy when he
He
called
would
me.
hide the screen
I
when
waited
I came
for his
near.
messages.
I laughed
I
and
thought
said,
about him before
"Are
sleeping
you hiding a
and dreamed
surprise
about
for
him
me?"
at night.
He
When
only
David
smiled
asked me to
and
be his
changed the
girlfriend,
subject.
my
Something
heart beat
inside
fast.
me felt strange.
I said yes.
But love
that was
is
the start of my
powerful.
love story.
Love
For
makes
me,
you blind.
David was not just
I closed
a
my
boyfriend.
eyes to the signs.
He became my world.
I told myself,
He listened
David
to
is
me
busy.
when I was sad.
He works hard.
He encouraged
He wants
me when
the best
I
for
felt
us.
weak.
One
he
evening,
held my hand
we went to
when
dinner
life
with
was
some of his
hard.
friends.
Months
They
turned
laughed,
into years.
They drank and
I
they talked.
finished school.
One of his friends
I became
made
a
joke.
teacher,
just like
David,
I had dreamed.
You always
David
have
worked in
so
an
many
office,
secrets.
and later he started
Everyone
his small
laughed,
business.
but I didn't.
We both
I
grew
looked
up,
at him carefully,
but we grew together.
He laughed too.
People around
but his
us
eyes
admired
looked
our
nervous.
bond.
I
My
tried
friend
to
said,
ignore it,
but
Anna,
that joke stayed
you
in my
are
mind.
so lucky.
Days passed.
David really
then
loves
months.
you.
I started
His
to
friends
feel
told
lonely.
him, "She is
Even
a good
though we
woman.
lived together,
Keep her close."
I felt like he was far away
we
from
smiled
me.
at their words.
He smiled
because
less.
we believed them too.
He touched me less.
Our families
When I wanted to
also
talk about our
accepted us.
future, he always
My mother
said,
liked him.
"Not now."
She said
Anna.
he was respectful.
Let's wait a little
and
more.
kind.
Wait.
His family
Also
always
welcomed
wait.
me.
Sometimes
Every holiday,
I wondered if he
we
really
spent
loved
time
me
together,
as much as before.
eating,
I gave him
laughing, and
18 years
making
of my
memories.
life.
I
thought
gave
I had
him my
found
heart,
true love,
my body, my
Years
soul.
passed.
But what did
10
I get in
years,
return?
then 12,
Only
then
promises.
15.
Time
Time
moved
moved
that
fast.
never became
We
real.
did not marry.
I tried
but
to
we
talk to
always
my best
said,
friend, Sarah.
"One day we
She
will."
listened and said,
We thought there was no
"Anna,
hurry.
maybe
we
you
were
should ask
already
him
happy
again."
together.
18 years
but deep
is
inside,
a long time.
I sometimes
If
wondered,
he truly loves
why
you,
didn't
he
David
should
ask
give you
me to marry
commitment.
him?
We
Her
were
words
together
hurt,
for so
but
long.
they were true.
I gave him my
So
youth,
one night
my
I asked
loyalty,
David again.
and my trust.
We were sitting in the living
Still,
room.
he only
I
said,
looked into his eyes
"We have
and
time."
said, "David,
I believed him.
when will we marry?"
Because
I
love
have
makes
waited
you
so
patient.
long.
Love
I want us to
makes
start
you
a family.
blind.
I want us
told
to make it
myself,
official. Maybe he is
He looked
waiting
at
for the
me,
right time.
silent for a
Maybe he
moment.
wants to grow his
Then
business
he
more.
smiled and said,
Maybe he wants to give
"Anna,
me a
don't
better
worry.
life before marriage.
We will marry."
I waited.
You just need to be
I
patient.
gave my best years
You
to
know
him.
I love you.
From 18 to 36.
His words were sweet.
My life was
But
tied
his
to David.
eyes, they
I
looked
thought
empty.
he was my forever.
That night,
I remember
I
one
couldn't
evening.
sleep.
We
His
were sitting on the
stayed
beach,
in my head,
watching
but
the
his
sunset.
eyes troubled me.
The sky was
They did not
orange
shine
and
like
pink.
before.
The sea
They looked
waves
tired,
touched our feet.
almost guilty.
I leaned on his
I
shoulder
began to
and
question
whispered,
things more.
"David,
Sometimes,
will you
when
love
his
me
phone
forever?"
rang,
He left the
he
room
kissed
to
my
answer.
forehead and said,
"Sometimes,
"Anna,
when I asked
I
simple
will
questions,
always love you."
he gave long,
Trust me,
confusing answers.
And I did.
I started to
I
feel
trusted
something
him
was
completely.
wrong. But
I told
still
everyone
loved
I was
him.
happy.
I told myself
I
maybe
was
I
happy.
am imagining
For
things.
18 years,
Maybe I am
carried this
insecure.
love in my heart.
Love makes
I
us
thought it was
foolish.
safe. We see
I
the
thought
truth,
it was
but we
pure.
do not want to
But
believe
I
it.
did not know the truth.
cracks in our love were growing.
The truth was waiting,
but I tried to
hidden,
fill them with
silent.
hope.
Waiting
One
to
day,
break me.
I found a
At
small
that
paper
time,
in his jacket
I could not
pocket.
imagine it.
It was a receipt
I only
from a
saw
restaurant.
the love I gave.
The date was
The
from
man
the
I
same
trusted,
night, he
and
told
the
me he
years
was at
we
work.
shared.
I
I
stared
thought
at
I
it.
had everything. My hands
I
were
did
shaking.
not know soon
I asked him
my
about
world
it.
would fall
He
apart.
looked surprised for a moment, then laughed and said, "Oh, that was with a client. Just business, Anna. You worry too much." His answer sounded simple, but something inside me whispered, he is hiding something. From that day, I started watching him more closely. I noticed the way he looked at his phone, the way he smiled at messages, the way he quickly locked his screen. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to demand the truth.
But every time I tried, fear stopped me.
Fear of losing him. Fear of breaking the life I had built around him.
So I stayed silent.
I carried the doubt inside my heart. But silence cannot hide the truth forever.
The truth was waiting.
And soon it would come to me. My name is Anna. I was only 18 when I first met David. At that time, I was young, shy, and full of dreams. Life looked so big, and I wanted to find someone who would understand me. I met David at a small bookstore in my town. I loved reading, and I often went there after school. He was already 22, older than me, and he worked in the city. That day, I was looking for a novel. I saw him standing near the same shelf. He picked up the book I also wanted. Our hands touched. We both laughed. That was the first moment. A simple touch, a small smile, but it stayed in my heart. David had kind eyes. His smile was warm, and his voice was soft. He asked me, "Do you like reading stories too?" I nodded and we started talking. We spoke about books, about life, and about dreams. He told me he wanted to start his own business one day. I told him I wanted to be a teacher. We met again and then again. At first, it was just friendly talks. But slowly, something more grew between us. I felt happy when he called me. I waited for his messages. I thought about him before sleeping and dreamed about him at night. When David asked me to be his girlfriend, my heart beat fast. I said yes. That was the start of my love story. For me, David was not just a boyfriend. He became my world. He listened to me when I was sad. He encouraged me when I felt weak. He held my hand when life was hard. Months turned into years. I finished school. I became a teacher, just like I had dreamed. David worked in an office, and later he started his small business. We both grew up, but we grew together. People around us admired our bond. My friend said, "Anna, you are so lucky. David really loves you." His friends told him, "She is a good woman. Keep her close." We smiled at their words because we believed them too. Our families also accepted us. My mother liked him. She said he was respectful and kind. His family also welcomed me. Every holiday, we spent time together, eating, laughing, and making memories. I thought I had found true love. Years passed. 10 years, then 12, then 15. Time moved fast. We did not marry, but we always said, "One day we will." We thought there was no hurry. We were already happy together. But deep inside, I sometimes wondered, why didn't David ask me to marry him? We were together for so long. I gave him my youth, my loyalty, and my trust. Still, he only said, "We have time." I believed him. Because love makes you patient. Love makes you blind. I told myself, maybe he is waiting for the right time. Maybe he wants to grow his business more. Maybe he wants to give me a better life before marriage. I waited. I gave my best years to him. From 18 to 36, my life was tied to David. I thought he was my forever. I remember one evening. We were sitting on the beach, watching the sunset. The sky was orange and pink. The sea waves touched our feet. I leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "David, will you love me forever?" He kissed my forehead and said, "Anna, I will always love you. Trust me." And I did. I trusted him completely. I told everyone I was happy. I told myself I was happy. For 18 years, I carried this love in my heart. I thought it was safe. I thought it was pure. But I did not know the truth. The truth was waiting, hidden,
silent,
waiting to break me. At that time, I could not imagine it. I only saw the love I gave, the man I trusted, and the years we shared. I thought I had everything. I did not know, soon, my world would fall apart.